What's up, YouTube? PokePrimer here, primarily ready to deliver you our draft analysis for the PokeFighters League's minor league. Now, I've mentioned this league before as a league we recently joined thanks to Steven from the PFC. He was a part of this for a while, and he was able to get us in this way. We had to originally participate in an OU tournament, which I lost. So I have to go through the minor leagues in order to get to the major leagues, which I don't think should be too big of an issue, but, we'll see what happens. It's going to be tough, but, it'll be worth a challenge. It'll definitely help hone my skills a little bit better and allow me to try out some more new mons in the process. So, how the draft worked is they had all the mons broken up into 5 tiers, tiers 1 through 5. And you had a certain amount of free mons, 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 2 tier 3s, a tier 4, and a tier 5, and then your mega. Now, if you picked a mega that was below tier 1, you would get, an extra amount of points. However many points were the difference between the point value of tier 1 and the point value of tier 2 or something like that. I'm not sure how that system worked, but then you would have 400 points plus whatever you got extra from your mega. You would have those 400 points to spend on 4 extra mons. So you had to be really, really smart about how you drafted and make sure you got everything you needed out of your tier requirements, and then make sure you have enough points to get something good out of your free mons. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Round 1 came about. I was 4th overall in the draft. And being 4th overall is pretty good because I can get pretty much whatever I want with very little likelihood of being sniped, which was great. So I was actually able to get really, really lucky and scoop up Mega Lopunny. Again, we have Chun-Li back on the squad here on our new team, the Pyrite Piloswines, which is the name that I decided to go with. It was kind of random. I was watching a YouTube video that had a Piloswine in it, and then I was watching, at the same time, I was playing Pokemon Coliseum, and I was in Pyrite Town, and it just kind of made sense, so I decided, well, fuck it, we'll name it this. I figured a new team name was due, it was necessary. And we've been the Hazelnupas for a while. And just switch things up for this league, So I decided to go with that name. I figured it would make a lot of sense. But so we were the Pyrite Piloswines, and we were able to scoop up Mega Lopunny in the first round. Now, originally I wanted to grab Mega Charizard Y, but spoilers, I had a different list for a different league, like list of a draft plan for a different league that just so happened to be on the same sheet in the notebook as the one for this league, and I just looked at the wrong one quickly and then selected Mega Lopunny, and then I was like, shit, I wanted Mega Charizard Y, but it was already too late to swap that out, so whatever, no big deal. But having Mega Lopunny is really, really good, because last time I didn't get to make her shine the way that she deserved to. I didn't get to show her off as well as I could have. A, because the league shut down, and B, because I wasn't used to using Mega Lopunny in the league format yet. I haven't practiced with it. I didn't know too much about how to use it. So it didn't work out as well as I planned initially. But now, I've been watching feverishly every battle from Sceptile MC, aka George of the GVA, and his San Francisco Arcanine, and their run using Mega Lopunny, and trying my very best to study it and learn from what he's done and come up with some things of my own and maybe copy a few things that he did. So I have a whole lot of new strategies that I can come up with for Mega Lopunny, and hopefully I can implement them in this league. It'll be really exciting because Mega Lopunny is a fantastic mon, and I'm really, really happy that we have it again and have a second chance to mess around with it. So I'm really, really excited about Chun-Li being back on the squad. And Chun-Li was tier 1, so we don't get any extra points, so we do still only have 400 points for later in the draft, but we'll get to that later on. So I waited for a little while, and when it came to be my turn again, I wanted to get another tier 1 mon. But I did also, I was focused in my mind, I know how good fast electric types are in this format. They are essentially key. I mean, we've seen how Raikou and Jolteon have put in so much work for us in the NPBA and Fella, respectively. Well, I didn't want to use either of them this time because I figured that through the I figured that I would be a huge letdown if I started just drafting the same stuff all over again. I want to learn. Like, I joined these leagues as a learning experience so I can practice with different mons, learn some different strategies, and you know, do stuff like that. So I decided to scoop up one of my favorite electric types, in my opinion, Robin Williams, aka Thundurus. Thundurus Incarnate is an amazing Pokemon because it has the Prankster ability, which will allow me to pretty much set up freely in front of just about anything. And set up to a point where I can, you know, maybe take a hit or guarantee that I can one-hit KO whatever appears in front of me. I also have access to Prankster Thunderwave, which is really great because I can then paralyze something and potentially paralyze a Scarfer that would switch into this thing. Because a lot of cases, the only thing that's going to outspeed this thing is, in fact, a Scarfer, thanks to its base 111 speed, so it breaks that base 110 speed tier, which is fantastic. Having access to both Volt Switch and U-Turn is really good because if my opponent has a large quantity of mons that can switch in to a Volt Switch, or potentially switch in, or be immune to the Volt Switch, I can safely pack U-Turn and use that instead so that I don't either, you know, give them a Lightning Rod boost or something along those lines, and I can better handle some of my opponent's mons, which is really, really good for me. Outside of that, Thundurus provides me a lot of extra coverage. It gets Sludge Wave and Sludge Bomb. It gets Taunt. It gets Superpower, Psychic, Hidden Power, Grass Knot, Dark Pulse. Overall, just a fantastically deep move pool, which is definitely backed well by its base 115 attack and 125 special attack. It doesn't take too many hits because it's very, very frail, but it's not meant to. It's definitely not meant to take hits too often. And if it has to, I can EV it appropriately to take maybe one hit from something and then hit it back, or something like that. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that when we get there, you know what I mean? But overall, I think Thundurus is a fantastic scoop up for us. It's definitely going to help us a lot this season, especially against some of our other opponents in our division, which seem to be kind of terrifying, but not really terrifying. I'm not too scared. I think we have a really tough division, but I think overall that it won't be too scary, you know? I'm not really, like, worried about it. But, Robin just provides us a lot of extra coverage and prankster support, and it's really, really good. So, since this was going by a snake-style format, obviously I only had a couple of picks to wait for my round 3 pick. And I was originally going to go in tier order, just go tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. But then I saw the tier 4 mon that I wanted, I figured would get scooped up very quickly because it's a very, very solid mon. It provides a lot of options. It's a very good support mon. So I decided to scoop it up early on. So our free tier 4 pick went to Pepe Le Pew, the Skuntank. Pepe Le Pew is a fantastic Pokemon because of so many different reasons. Its bulk is based mainly in its HP. Base 103 HP is just really, really decent. It definitely provides, it definitely works well with its base defenses, which can allow it to take some decent hits. It's not all that fast, but it doesn't really need to be in a lot of cases, and it hits decently hard on either side. So it can be mixed if I need it to be. So it's definitely an option. Aftermath's a fantastic ability because if we're taken out by a move that makes contact, which we can always set up to happen in a lot of cases, we can definitely make that happen in some cases. We will do 25% to them with Aftermath, which is really, really great because that free 25% damage is sometimes very, very crucial in a match, and I'm happy to have it. But it's a really good mon. Downside to it is it doesn't have knockoff. It's really kind of a bummer. But you know, what can you do, I guess? You know, every mon can't be perfect. It gets access to Explosion, which is kind of cool. It gets access to Defog, which is really, really cool. I actually need to make sure that I can get myself a Gen 4 defogging Skuntank into my Omega Ruby ASAP, just so that I can have access to that for future matches as well. Because that's kind of important. I kind of might need defog some weeks over Rapid Spin, where potentially defog could be a better option. So I definitely want to look into getting that ASAP, and then hopefully it'll do very well for us. Gets access to Sucker Punch, which is really useful. I do like that it has Sucker Punch. I think that's one of the best things about it. It's a very good Sucker Punch and Pursuit Trapper as well. Poison Jab, obviously. Play Rough is a very, very good move to have on this set. On his sets. Being special, he can also run things like Sludge Bomb and Flamethrower, which can counter some of his hard checks. I can run Memento for potential situations where I might need a free switch into something, which would be kind of cool if I could run that at some point. It gets Taunt, it gets Taunt, it gets Toxic. It gets a lot of really good moves, and can be a very, very good support mon for the squad. And in certain situations, it could be an offensive threat to my opponent's team. So hopefully Pepe Le Pew puts in as much work as I think it will. So I waited a bit. I had to wait again for them to go through the rest of the picks and come back up to me. And when it did make it to me, and I got my next pick, I wanted to start grabbing my Firewater Grass Core. I already had one in mind, but I kind of wanted to start grabbing it ASAP because it was necessary. It's an important part of the game. You know, having that Firewater Grass Core, which I'm very comfortable in using, is essentially crucial to the game at some points. So I actually wanted to, as soon as I could, get my mons ready, and I noticed that there was two very, very good mons sitting in tier 3, so I decided I was going to use both of my tier 3 picks over my next two picks and scoop them up. So, the first one that I was able to scoop up is Black Lagoon the Swampert, because he looks like the creature who came out of the Black Lagoon. He does kind of look like that guy, so I figured it was a fitting nickname. And it definitely works well for him. Regardless, regular Swampert is kind of in. It doesn't have any abilities that obviously do anything for it, which is, fine. It does. Damp does stop Aftermath from happening, so if there's other mons with Aftermath that I can't think of off the top of my head, I can bring that against them and take them out, and then I don't have to worry about the Aftermath at all, which is nice. Overall, Swampert is here mainly for bulk. Base 100 HP, base 90 defenses. He's really, really bulky. Can eat a lot of hits, definitely a lot of hits, and put in a lot of work back. Base 85 special attack means that if this thing can be kind of mixed at times, and you can run things like Earth Power, you can run things like Scald on it, which is fantastic to have. I think it's one of the most underrated non-mega versions of it, which is really cool. I think it's definitely a lot better than people give it credit for, and I definitely want to try to make it shine this season. I think it has so much more potential. It's a very good stealth rock setter. It's one of its big niches that it fits. It has a lot of coverage moves on the special and physical side, which is really good. It has access to roar, so I can phase things. It's got access to moves like Outrage, Ice Punch, Power Up Punch, Low Kick, Stone Edge, and Rock Slide. A lot of moves that you wouldn't think would be on this thing, but it definitely gets them, and it's gonna be cool to see what I can do with this thing, because I'm really excited. There's a lot of potential ideas that I've already seen kind of like build up in my head as to what could potentially happen with this mon, and I'm really, really hyped about it because Black Lagoon here is I would say is one of my dark horses in my draft. One of the mons that people are going to overlook and aren't going to be prepared enough for, and then I'm going to bring it out and it's going to put in crazy work against their team. So with that is our first tier 3 pick. Our second tier 3 pick came 6 picks later, as we were able to scoop up Spoop Tree. Now, Spoop Tree, the Trevenant here, is a mon that I have been dying to try out. Now, it kind of has the same kind of niche roles as Swampert, where it has decent base HP and base 85, with decent base defenses 76 and 82. However, it also has a base 110 attack as well, which allows it to be a very hard-hitting mon if it wants to be. Its abilities are great in this format. Frisk. Frisk will allow us to scout out our opponent's sets. Being able to figure out their items will help us open up doors to see their sets. Which is really, really useful. Natural Cure is great because we have the potential to soak up a status and switch out and be good to go, which is really, really useful on a bulkier mon like Trevenant. And Harvest is great because we can throw a berry on here, and if we are in a scenario where we can have the sun, maybe, we would always get our berries back, which is fantastic, because then every time we get down below health, we'll just get right back up in health, and nothing will be able to touch us. Nothing will be able to stop Spoop Tree from putting in work on my opponent's team. Move pool wise, we get Destiny Bond, which is really, really cool. We can run a Combine set if we really want to. We get Drain Punch. I didn't even know Trevenant got Drain Punch. That's crazy. Earthquake. Holy shit. Trevenant, calm down. We have access to Hone Claws for setup. We have Horn Leech, Leech Seed, Magic Coat. So it can serve as a good anti-lead. We have Poison Jab for those pesky fairy types running around. Power Up Punch, why not? This thing can set up Reflects, which is kind of cool. It's got Rest, which is great, especially if you run a Lumberry Harvest set, which is totally insane. Return, Rock Slide, Seed Bomb, Shadow Claw. It's just got so many good moves. It's got Wood Hammer, X Scissor. It's just crazy. It's actually crazy. This mon is so good at doing so many different things. I am really excited. Really excited to try Trevenant out in this league, in the league format, and see how well it does. So with that, we cleared out our round 5. Round 6, we waited and waited again. Waited for it to come back around to us. And at that point, I wanted to finish off my tier requirements first before I even started spending my points. I didn't even want to think about my points. As far as I considered, the points weren't even there. I had those tier requirements to meet. So I had a tier 2 and a tier 5 pick left. And obviously the tier 2 was a little bit more of a priority because tier 2 is very small. So I wanted to be able to scoop up my tier 2 pick ASAP, because I wasn't sure if it was going to get scooped up. And the main question I had about my thought process there was, is Shadow Tag legal in this league? Because I've been in leagues where they ban it. Well, turns out Shadow Tag is not illegal in this league. So we picked up Preference the Gothitelle, and that nickname is very specific because I'm a guy who's kind of into the gothic emo girl type look. You guys have seen my girlfriend. She's got purple hair. I think that's absolutely gorgeous, and I love that kind of look on a girl. So Gothitelle is literally like hashtag waifu to me, like legit as fuck. Like honestly, I won't even deny that, man. But Gothitelle is a fantastic mon overall. It's got Frisk, which is really kind of useful for scouting items, just like how what was it, Trevenant has it as well? Yeah, both of them have Frisk, which is really good for scouting out items and learning sets. Competitive is really good to block opponents' defoggers. Opposing defoggers are not so much of an issue if I decide to run competitive, but the best ability is Shadow Tag. Shadow Tag will allow us to trap our opponent's mons and revenge kill in a lot of cases. With the coverage that this thing gets, it's got Grass Knot, Energy Ball, Dark Pulse, Hidden Powers. It's got access to Psychic and Psyshock. It's got Signal Beam, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt. A lot of crazy coverage moves. A lot of really good coverage moves as well. And it has the potential to come in and screw an opponent's mon completely over, trap it, and then beat it 1v1 in almost every scenario, which is really useful in this league. It can be EV'd to take on and beat serious opponent threats that could cause a lot of problems to our team. And that's not good, because I don't like when things cause problems to my teams. So, fuck off, people who are trying to cause problems for my teams. But yeah. Preference is fantastic in the league format. Again, this is another mon that I got inspired to get based on the performance of it by Septile MC. He used Gothitelle wonderfully throughout the entirety of Season 5 of the GBA so far. And now he's currently in the playoffs, so obviously he's doing something right. So the goal here is pretty much use this thing to trap and kill anything that I want to. Its speed isn't all that great, which is why a lot of people run it Scarfed. I have a lot of other options in my head that I can work with it, but a Scarf Gothitelle is definitely a thought process in my head. It's got base 95 and 110 defenses, respectively, which is really good. So this thing can eat some hits if I EV it appropriately. And with base 95 special attack, I can definitely have the revenge killing potential that I think Gothitelle truly has. And Gothitelle just provides me with so many amazing options that I am excited that we were able to scoop it up. So that's going to be our Tier 2 pick. So 6 picks later, as we go to the next set, 6 picks later, I needed to scoop up a Mon that fit out our Fire, Water, Grass core. And I looked through the Tier 6, because there was really not too many other good Fire types remaining. And I was able to find Magmortar. Now, Magmortar isn't the bulkiest Fire type, by any means. 67 defense isn't great. It's actually kind of bad. But 95 special defense is pretty good. So, I mean, it's got AV potential, maybe. In certain scenarios, I could see myself running that. We'll see. It has potential for the season, but Magmortar is a really, really good Mon because of its coverage. I mean, it has access to Vital Spirit, so it can't fall asleep, which is kind of cool. It also has access to Flame Body, so if it does get hit by one of those physical hits, it can counter them right back. And potentially burn them, which could then cripple them and allow us to have a better chance of beating them. One of the key things about Magmortar that I like, though, is it does have mixed attacker potential. Base 95 attack and 125 special attack, while yes, it is more of a special attacker, having that mixed capability with base 95 attack is really, really nice, because as you can see, it has a lot of physical moves here. It's got Body Slam, Brick Break, Cross Chop, Earthquake, Fire Punch. It does get access to Flare Blitz, just to name a few. But it also gets access to a lot of good special moves. It's got Clear Smog, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Focus Blast, Lava Plume, Psychic. We got Thunderbolt. A lot of good options that Magmortar can carry that will allow it to cause a lot of big damage to my opponent's team. Basically, a lot of what Magmortar is here to do is wall break, essentially, which kind of brings us to our next Mon. Kind of does bring us to our next Mon, which is, in fact, one of my favorites, Wall Breaker, the Kyurem Black. Now, this thing right here, I don't know why no one drafted this. This was sitting there in Tier 1. This was my first point spent Mon. Now, the way the points worked, it's 180 for Tier 1, 120 for Tier 2, 100 for Tier 3, 60 for Tier 4, and 40 for Tier 5. So I had to spend 180 points for this, but it's definitely worth it. Because look at this stuff. 125 base HP. Without any HP investment, it sits at 200 HP at level 50. That's freaking ludicrous. That's so high. Base 170 attack. That's nuts. That's absolutely insane. Base 100 defense and 90 special defense. Holy crap, why is this thing so good? Base 95 speed. Why is this thing not banned to Ubers? I'm sorry. I understand, I get the reasoning behind it, but why? Deep down, why? I have to wonder these things. Because Kyurem Black is insane. Wall Breaker is the best nickname for this thing, because put any item on this thing. Put literally any item on this thing, and it will put in work. Terravolt is very nice because it ignores the abilities of my opponents, so we can hit a lot of things really, really hard. There's one team with a whole bunch of Rotoms on it. Well, fuck your Levitate. We have Earth Power, and we're gonna hit you with it, plain and simple. Wall Breaker is just insane because it has access to so many hard-hitting moves on both the physical and special side. Focus Blast, Flash Cannon, Draco Meteor, Dragon Claw, Blizzard, Ice Beam, Iron Head, Hyper Voice, Fusion Bolt, Outrage, Rock Slide, Shadow Ball and Shadow Claw, Signal Beam, Zen Headbutt, Stone Edge. This thing has so many good moves. He's got Freeze Shock, which is a crazy, crazy good move that has a 30% chance to paralyze. It's a 2-turn move, but again, that's still an option. It's in the move pool. It's usable. I think it could potentially find its way into a match at some point if I wanna be a little bit cheeky. But Kyurem Black is just so insanely good. It's so good. Why was this thing not drafted by someone else? Why wasn't it drafted by someone else? I can't complain because I'm happy that I got it. But why was this not drafted by someone else? Kyurem Black's amazing. I'm excited. Kyurem Black's gonna blow away the competition like nothing. It's crazy. I'm excited. Let's go Kyurem Black. Next up, I needed a bulky fairy type. I was looking around. Togekiss had recently just been taken. I was really thinking about that one, but I didn't get it. Fuck. Oh well. But anyway, Togekiss was gone. A lot of the other bulky fairies that I saw were gone. I didn't want Aromatisse again. I don't want to. Again, I didn't want to bring Mons that I already have used. So I ended up scooping up, and I felt bad because I sniped the one guy really hard, and he was like really sad about it. I sniped the man hard. I was able to get Vermilion the Florges. Florges is one of my favorite Pokemon to use because it's so damn bulky. Look at this shit. He's 154 special defense. This thing doesn't need special defense investment. It will eat your sludge bombs. It'll take all of your sludge waves. It doesn't care. Give me a flash cannon. Please give me a flash cannon. I don't care about flash cannons. Obviously, its physical defense is poor, but then again, if you put investment into it, it's viable, more than viable. It's got base 112 special attack, which means that you don't need to invest too much either to cause some significant damage. And if you invest at all, this thing basically becomes a true and undeniable monster, which is absolutely fantastic. Florges is just overall one of the best walls in the game, in my personal opinion. One of the best walls in the game. And has a lot of potential to shut down some of my opponent's Mons and really stall them out with a Toxic Wish Protect combo that it likes to run as a potential option. It also can set up Light Screen if it really wanted to. It's got access to moves like Petal Dance, Giga Drain, Aromatherapy, the hidden powers, obviously. Its move pool isn't too deep, but it doesn't need to be. That's the thought process here. It doesn't need to be. So, yeah, this was another tier 2 pick, so we're down to having 100 points left for our last 2 months. So basically, we have to draft tier 4 and below at this point. A tier 4 and a tier 5 is the only thing we can do. Or 2 tier 5s if we wanted to. But that's pretty much what we had left after spending it on Florges. But I think Florges was worth the points. I definitely think Florges was worth the points. I mean, there's other things in tier 3 that I thought about getting, but wasn't too keen on, so I'm actually kind of happy that we were able to scoop up Florges. And so it came back around to us. Actually, this morning it happened. It came back around to us finally after a long-ass wait. And we were able to scoop up a Mon that actually has access to Flying type Stab, because we do have a Flying type already in Thundurus Incarnate, but I wanted one that actually had access to Flying type Stab, and like really good Flying type Stab, kind of. I also wanted myself another Dragon. I was okay with having at least one duplicate, another duplicate typing, because it's really not that big of a deal as long as I plan appropriately. It's not going to hurt me in the long run. So I scooped up Noivern. Now, Noivern is a Mon that I haven't used all that much since the very beginning of Gen 6, because obviously when Gen 6 came out, everyone was like, boom burst this, boom burst that. Let's just click boom burst all the time. Fuck anything else, let's click boom burst. But looking more into Noivern, this thing is actually really, really dangerous. Like, obviously, it does get the obvious boom burst, but it gets things like Draco Meteor, Air Slash, Flamethrower, Focus Blast, Hurricane, Hyper Voice. Gets access to Psychic, Shadow Ball, Roost. It's got Super Fang for tearing walls down really quickly. It can set up Tailwind right before it dies because it's very fast. It's got Taunt, so it's a very good anti-lead mon. Now it's got U-turn for momentum purposes, which is it's really, really useful for our team. It's got Whirlwind to force some switches for mons that like to set up, stuff like that. It's got a lot of very, very good options to it, and provides a lot of hard hitting and support scenarios. One of the best things about it is its base 123 speed, which allows us to outspeed a lot of the metagame, even in the case of an opponent having Greninja on their team, the non-protein Greninja, which a lot of leagues allow in it. Even with that, Noivern can outspeed and beat it without too much of a problem, which is really, really good. Because that thing can be a huge threat. I've seen in other leagues and in the GBA that even without Protean, Greninja is a fantastic Pokemon that should not be taken lightly. Obviously, with base 80 defenses across the board, Noivern isn't going to be taking too many hits, but it can potentially take one and then hit back really, really hard with base 97 special attack, or even its base 70 attack if I want to run a physical move on it that might catch an opponent off guard. Which is definitely totally an option at some points. You never know when you might need a physical attack on this mon to throw my opponent off a little bit, fuck with them. Right? Something like that. But that's going to be... I'm excited for Boombat here. Boombat is going to put in a lot of work. And then for our last mon, we're bringing back another PFC member. He didn't get to see a lot of the battlefield because I picked him up in free agency week number... pretty sure it was week 8, and then the league ended after week 9. So he didn't get too much playtime, but I feel like Stego the Armaldo has a much better chance of hitting the field a lot more often this season here in the PFL. With abilities like Battle Armor and Swift Swim, which Swift Swim actually comes into play this season because one of our opponents in our division did scoop up a bit of a rain team, so we could potentially use that against him. Now, we do have the Battle Armor as well, so we can avoid being critted, which is essentially one of the best things in the world for a wall like Armaldo. Base 80 special defense, base 100 defense, fantastic overall wall. It can be built a little bit specially bulky if necessary. Base 125 attack's really, really nice because that'll allow us to hit back hard even though we'll be more of a wall. We can definitely hit them back very, very nicely. Overall, this thing's here for a lot of bulk purposes, but I did draft this thing for the purpose of being a rapid spinner, which is really, really nice. It's got access to things like Knockoff. It can be another Stealth Rocker. It's got access to Stone Edge. Rock Polish if it wants to set up. Rock Blast for breaking Sturdies. And Focus Ashes, which is really, really useful. I've taken advantage of that before in the past, and I definitely see myself doing it again. Superpower. It can Toxic Stall things. It's got access to Hone Claws as well for setup. Earthquake. Brick Break, Aqua Tail, Aqua Jet for those scenarios where I need a little bit of priority. I can pack Aqua Jet if I need to. This thing provides me with a lot more options than people might think, and I'm really, really happy that we have Stego again on the squad. So, with that is going to be our draft for the PFL Minor League. if you guys have enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully, once these battles start going, I will be able to get all of them to you in some fashion or form, because a lot of the battles will probably be taking place on 3DS. I'll try to get them to you. I'll talk to Casey and Frank and maybe whoever else in the league might record the battles, and see if I can get you guys those whenever I can. They won't be right away, and they'll probably be very spread out, but whenever I can get them to you, I will definitely do my best to do that. And I hope you guys will enjoy them. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm PokePrimer.